Somebody's been cutting wood around here. It smells like Christmas. So far, this has been my favorite camp spot yet. On the road again.
Oh, and that breeze through this mesh jacket feels very good right now. These ditches here with the grass, there's deer in them.
I just had to stop and check this place out. Okay, I am in Fargo. We'll be in Fargo for a couple of days. I've got some things from my book that I want to highlight. Good morning from Fargo. As I mentioned, I'm in a hotel, and this trip I've set a budget for myself and trying to keep costs at a reasonable minimum, just because I want to see that I can do it and prove that others can do it, I guess, in some way, that you don't have to be in the finest accommodations or even in a hotel at all when you're traveling on motorcycle. That said, I do think you have to be in a shower once in a while, and there are a lot of campsites that offer showers, but I haven't had one yet. I do believe that is coming, though. Anyways, no one told my father about the budget on the trip, and so he got a room at a hotel that was closest to his home, and that's all that he was concerned with. So let me show you my lodgings now. A nice king size bed, and the mattress is just heaven. I mean, really. And we got the sofa sleeper over there if I wanted to have company, which I don't have any. So, it's very nice. And I go from, sleeping in a sleeping bag with water coming in on my feet to this. And I guess that's motorcycle adventure, or it can be. Long day in the saddle yesterday because I thought I was going to do a night's camping somewhere around Bismarck on the Missouri River, and I just wasn't finding anything that was working. And probably too short notice. It was a first come, first served situation. There isn't a lot of like federal land around there. And I was so close to Fargo and my father, who I like to see, that I thought, well, why don't I just press on and see him? Which is what I ended up doing. So, but that made it over an 8-hour day on the bike yesterday. So I'm ready to be off of it for a day, to be honest. That said, I probably will be on it around town here a bit, but we're just going to take a little respite here in Fargo, and I'm going to share Fargo with you and some of the sites that I mention and talk about in my book, Creating Mr. Kortan. So I'm going to hop in a shower. Oh, and the in-room coffee at this Hilton is the best I've had yet so far. I still feel like I'm not getting enough sleep. I got these bags under my eyes. maybe this respite off the road for a couple nights is not such a bad thing. So on this trip, while I have gone primitive with camping one night and borderline primitive on some of the other camping evenings, I'm not gonna become a savage myself. As I mentioned in my intro video, the packing video, I did bring my electric razor, and there is a charge in this thing that should take care of this beard at least once, maybe a couple of times, so we'll see. It's a little shorter than I would typically trim it, but we all know it's gonna grow back. Well, we'll see if I get to do that again on this trip. So the other thing I wanted to do on these days off is bike maintenance. I really want to look into the chain, and I need an oil change. So, well, I don't need it. It's just I'm close, and it's most convenient to do it here rather than on the road. Because my father's got a little bit of accommodation for me there, but I'll probably just do it in a parking lot next to the hotel. And as I'm cleaning myself up this morning, I am noticing one thing. I'm looking at, my skin here from my neck to under my shirt. Well, of course, my jacket comes to here and my helmet's here, but there is this area that is exposed to the sun. You've seen me put lotion on my wrists, which also get some exposure, but I'm feeling it now that I've slowed down, that I don't have wind over my skin. The point of this is take care of exposed areas of your skin when you're out there in the sun for hours and hours and hours. That's a long time for UVs to be on human skin. So the first thing on the agenda this morning after breakfast, which we just completed, here's my dad, by the way. Say hi, Dad. Yeah, he doesn't understand what I'm doing. Is chain maintenance. I thought I could just put chain lubricant on throughout this whole trip, but I really feel like I should clean it. So I'm here to buy some kerosene and a brush. Oh, here's brushes. Well, this would be perfect. And not exactly your typical motorcycle chain brush, but this will work. I'll make this work. And that's it, chain cleaning supplies. I'm at Menards. We don't have these in Southern California. They're up here in the upper Midwest. Absolutely my favorite home lumber yard stores, hands down. I love it so much more than Home Depot or Lowe's or any of those others. They're fantastic stores. So those of you that have a Menards near you know what I'm talking about, and the rest of us are at a loss, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm out here in the parking lot. I'm actually not in the Hilton parking lot. It's some business next door. I don't expect to spill anything here. I'm going to be very careful. But I'm warming the engine up because it's been sitting all night, and so I can drain all the warm oil out. And then we'll lubricate, or clean and lubricate our chain and check the tension on it. And then the other thing I'm going to do is just take a quick picture of the mileage so that I have my mileage at this oil change later on when I get home, and I can enter that in my journal and keep track of when I did oil changes. So I'll put some kerosene in here first. It really doesn't take all that much. And my dad can take the rest of this.
And then you can turn the wheel or not?
You'd never lift it, no.
No.
Too heavy. And now normally this is a lot easier up on the paddock stand at home because I can rotate the wheel
Right.
So this is going to take a little longer than it would at home.
Yeah. But we got time.
Yeah.
You have to start the bike then, or just...
No, but I have to shoot. I have to move the bike, and I've got a glove
Yeah,
covered.
I can.
No, you can't.
I can.
No, we can't risk it.
To tip over.
Yep. And it'll do it on you fast.
That's...
I'm going to go through quite a few gloves using this method.
Oh, you can't help it. They're cheap.
Another reposition.
You let it dry then, and then squirt more oil on it, or lubricant.
Yeah, what I'll do is wipe it all down with a shop towel and then get the lubricant out
Yeah.
and spray it. That should be the last time I have to travel the bike. But I'll show you the distance required in a moment. So the other thing I'm doing is looking
For
as
any
I'm down
signs of
here
wear.
to see if there's, yeah, just any spots where it's clear that links are sticking with each other. This chain's in pretty good shape still, and I'm going to leave that slack as it is for now. I'll probably tighten it up after another day's riding.
You want the towel now?
Yes. Thank you, my lovely assistant. Before I do, I just want to show the distance I had to roll the bike to expose all of the chain. This is all the way back, and at the beginning I had the front tire all the way up to that curb. So if it gives you some idea of how long the chain is in order to access all of it, that's the distance you need, more than a car parking spot's worth. And in the next step, you guessed it, oh, cardboard. Then we're just going to drain our old oil. Now we're going to have to level the bike to get all the oil out, but
Right.
first I'm going to get the plug out.
Right.
There we go. That oil's still looking pretty good, but
Yeah.
might as well change it. It's got about, oh gosh, I forget now,
Probably got
2,400 miles on it.
Yeah.
And now I'll wait till it stops
Yeah.
running and then I'll level it.
Which holds 3 quarts.
2.6.
Don't tip your can over.
Well, we have made no mess.
Not really.
Cardboard was key.
It's still dripping even now, so just let her run.
Oh, okay. And I'll just replace my drain plug. I held it vertically for probably a good minute, maybe more. It's not critical we get every drop.
No. Are you changing filter too?
No. Filter is every third oil change, so this filter is
okay.
going to last my entire trip.
Yeah.
Or every 11,000 miles, I think they say.
Okay.
And then we just got to put new oil in. So that should be good. That's about level. So then the other thing, of course, is the waste oil and the waste kerosene can be returned to any place that sells oil.
Yeah, and I know right where we go.
Don't go dumping this out in nature. Do not pour it down a storm drain.
Yeah, I didn't want to take a chance. You can do a little more.
Can't see.
God forbid the storm drain. Oh,
Yeah.
but it's going good. Just tip her all the way up if you can.
So that's it, guys. Fun on the off day, the non-riding day. I don't know what you call this day where you don't ride somewhere. So the bike will be happy for another 3,000 miles or better. And then I'll have to do this one more time somewhere, but I'll figure out how to do that without my dad's help. And there are Walmarts everywhere, and that Rotella oil is available everywhere. Now, let's see what Fargo has to offer from my book, Creating Mr. Kortan. Some of the sites that I mentioned there.
One of the places I used to ride my bicycle to with my friend Rodney was West Acres Shopping Mall. I generally dislike shopping malls now at this stage of my life, but at the time, there was a lot to be discovered here. We'd come here to buy electronics and stereo equipment. The place looks a lot different now. It used to look like this.
So, one of the old stereo and audio equipment stores that we used to visit here as kids is now a Victoria's Secret. Sign of the times, I guess. Place has changed a lot since I rode my bike here, buying tape decks and amplifiers and speakers. The other thing that was here was Radio Shack. I'm going to check the directory and see if it's still here, but I'm kind of doubting it. And I don't even know what Radio Shack sells anymore. But they used to sell really good speakers. I still own them, and they still sound great. Some things never change. In fact, that blinking win up to 500 tickets thing, that actually looks pretty familiar to me. Space Invaders, wow, remember that? Anyways, we had a different place called the Pirate's Den, and I would inevitably stop and drop a few dollars worth of quarters in there on one of my visits to the mall. Okay, so University Motors was located pretty much where that apartment complex is and that NDSU billboard. There's been a lot of new construction around here. The bridge itself has been extended a bit, and clearly the business has moved locations. What used to be called University Motors and what I reference in my book was called University Motors. That is now U Motors and located in a different part of town. But this is essentially the spot where I would ride my bicycle and fall in love with the motorcycles that they had in their showroom and in their used Quonset hut. Again, all of that's mentioned in Creating Mr. Kortan. So this is the backside of Ben Franklin Junior High School, where Mr. Kortan, his shop classes were right inside that door, that hallway. And in there, he instilled upon a bunch of young men, the art of working with metal, of taking a small engine apart, putting it back together, and having it run again. And I just ate it up, and the creativity that was fostered there has served me my whole life. But somebody had to be in there, writing a lesson plan and organizing it all, and then just keeping us yahoos in line. And that was Jim Kortan. And that's where it all went down, was in that high school. And of course there were additional classes at the high school. The auto shop class, where we actually built a kit car, and then they would sell that at the end of the year and use the proceeds to fund the program. But for whatever reason, it was Mr. Kortan that really resonated with me. And Mr. Kortan, the motorcycle, is really even like the smallest representation of what he created in me and fostered in me. So what used to be University Motors is now over here in a different part of town called U Motors. Still selling Honda and Yamaha. A little bit bigger facility than they had back in my day, as I've written about in my book. So right here was where I went to high school, and I would park my Honda CX not down here, but up there on the sidewalk. I don't imagine they're going to go for that now, especially with this guy parked right here. I figured I may not try that maneuver and get that photo shoot, but we'd park them like right up here along this edge, and there were just a few of us that rode motorcycles back in those days. But yeah, my Honda CX would take me to high school. And as I mentioned in the book, my first job at the age of 10 was mowing lawns here at the Elzegel Shrine Club in North Fargo. And I had to mow that grass over there. I would mow this side of this dike. Dike here being that this floods. On the other side of the dike is the Elzegel Golf Course, where I learned to play golf. It's a little municipal par 3 9-hole course. But that was mowed by the golf course professionals, but I had to do this side. And everything down there, and there was more. All of this green area in front. But I did not have to do... that is the Masonic Temple. I did not do their lawns, but I did this in front of the Elzegel Shrine Club. And then along this side, they've sold off this property. They have some of these storage sheds here, and then I don't know what that's residential stuff over there. But all of that was a lawn. None of this was here except for a garage that was probably about twice as big as this. And they kept their little Fiat convertible cars for the parades that they would do. And they would do little stunt driving around with each other with their fezzes on. It was kind of fun, but anyways, that was all lawn. So for $1.75 an hour, I would mow for the Elzegel Shrine Club. There's my dad, 1978 potentate of Elzegel Shrine. Number 72 there, the middle of those three. And we used to come here a lot. And as I mentioned, I mowed the lawns here when I was 10. Okay, that little sidewalk intersection by the fire hydrant there is where all of my bundles of newspapers would be dropped off every Saturday and Sunday morning. Sunday mornings there would be like 4 or 5 big bundles of paper there, and the other days less so, maybe 1 or 2 bundles. It depended how thick the paper was at the time and how many ads were in it. Thursday was another bigger day, but then Monday through Friday they would be it would be after school. I'd get off school at 3:15, walk home right down this sidewalk here, and there they'd be waiting for me. I'd typically go home first and get rid of my book bag and stuff, and then because I lived right near here, and then I would load them up in my bag, throw it over my shoulder, put some Rush or some Police or Genesis on my Walkman and begin walking my route. And I'm going to ride my route with you now. This pretty much was my paper route, beginning here. So I would walk, and you had to go up to every door. You see, I don't know if you can see it as I'm riding by so quick. Each house, except for that one, of course, now that I want to make an example, has a storm door. There's 2 doors. It's part of the weather gets so cold here. By the way, this area is called a gully. The Red River used to run through here. I would launch rockets and fly kites and do all kinds of fun things there. Learn how to throw a boomerang. These were my houses, but you had to walk up to each one, open the storm door, and put the newspaper inside. And then, of course, I would finish those. I would turn around, and just about every house along here got the newspaper. There was no internet. There was, television. There was the nightly news, but people liked reading the newspaper. And can you imagine waiting until 3:30, 4 o'clock to get your paper because your paper boy is at school? You know, people just don't have the patience for it anymore. They want their news now. And then so I would do this, deliver that one. I would cut across the gully sometimes. I had more than one way to attack this thing, but really depended on whether the snow was deep in the gully or not. And then I would have to come through here. This was all houses over here, but the floods back in the 90s took all those houses out. But that was all part of my route. Then I would have to come up here and deliver this side of the street. And you guessed it, at some point I'd come down to the end here, turn around, and deliver the other side of the street. I did not have those houses down there. But these were mine. These were mine. Lisa Hansen lived there. None of these were mine. Some other kid's route. Those were some other kid's route. And then I had to come over here by, there's El Zagel, the Shrine Club that I showed you earlier, and the El Zagel Municipal Golf Course. I should go play around just for old time's sake. That's where I learned to play golf. That's why my short game is good and my long game is horrible. That was kind of braggy, as if I've got a great short game. Then I would deliver all of these. This was every single day, 7 days a week, 365 a year. And, if my family wanted to take a vacation, we didn't go anywhere, by the way, for much. I would have to find a substitute, a friend or somebody to do it. And, who subbed was Rodney, who will be riding with me later. And then, as I mentioned, this was all houses. And there was a house right here on the corner, and the old lady that lived there would have me mow her lawn for some money because she couldn't do it. I lived right back there. I used to climb that tree. Wow. And then all of these houses were mine. And my route was over right here. That was it. Done. Every day. So, if you wanted to go find 12 to 16-year-old urban monk, you could go there between 3:30 and about 4:45 every weekday, or at 5 or 6 in the mornings on the weekends, and find me. I was there every time, without fail. And I'd collect my money, and I'd save it up and I'd buy some cool high-end audio equipment, which I still own to this day. I probably should interject some video of that equipment when I get back home in California. And my Honda CX500 motorcycle was purchased with funds from doing that route I just showed you. So anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this journey down my memory lane in Fargo, North Dakota, where Urban Monk grew up and fell in love with motorcycling. And here I am back here. I haven't been here for over a decade, and it's changed a lot, but not this area. This is pretty much what it looked like back in the day. You'd have people with a completely messy yard and other people that were really neat. A lot of neat Scandinavians. Oh, there's one more place I can show you. The place where the first CX500, my original bike, met its demise. It's not too far from here. I'm gonna leave the cameras rolling. What else can I say about Fargo? Of course, you know, the riding season is quite short. Rodney lived right down there. I mentioned in the book him taking the exhaust. I mean, here's a modern day Rodney here. His exhaust is a lot quieter than Rodney's was, though. Anyways, I was sailing down this street. Really novice young rider, and this stop sign where that car just crossed wasn't there. I had right of way back in that day, and I was probably coming along here at 35, and just like back in the day, a lady pulled out in front of me just like that car did. Of course, they had every right to. It's a four-way stop now. Gee, if it had been a four-way stop back when I came through here, maybe my Honda CX would still be with me. But anyways, I did a pretty good job of slowing down and hit the back of her car. I went over her trunk, but it tweaked the frame. The CX500, the frame is built in a way to where you can tweak it a little bit easier than maybe another type of frame with down tubes like the old bikes. But yeah, that was where the end of that bike happened. I could have parted it out, but I wasn't at a point in my life when I was thinking that way. So again, thanks for joining me in Fargo. Next stop is to go and hook up with Mr. Kortan, my old shop teacher, and see him for the first time since I was a teenage boy in his class. And I have talked to him on the phone a couple times since then, and you guys get to meet him. So I'll sign off here. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.